Hey y'all. Happy Sunday. How y'all doing? Yeah, I'm up early with it. I wanted to get this in. Um, I just wanted to be in and out. So I watched, I don't know if you guys have gotten the opportunity to check out this Mary J. Blige. I guess it's a documentary, if you will, but it basically documents a lot of the process through her making the My Life album back in 94, I think it was 94, 95, something around that era. And basically, she's just going back in time and she's recounting a lot of the experiences. It's low key, kind of even like like a biography, autobiography kind of vibe to where she, goes through her upbringing and then she hones in on that entire process in terms of like making that album and how that kind of helped her evolve and set the I guess you could say the foundation for her current career. So here's the thing. I've always listened to Mary J. Blige's music just because I was born in 91, so literally as a child I remember listening to her music. I remember my mom listening to her music, right? Even up throughout like high school and all that kind of stuff. But I can honestly say that this documentary kind of made it kind of prompted a resurgence. It made me appreciate her again in her discography because it also contextualized a lot of the way in which I perceived her. And so I wanted to get into her natal chart just because I thought it was kind of interesting. So let's go ahead and do that because I don't want this to be too long. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. My mother had Mary's What's the 411 album on cassette. Come on, cassette. I wonder why she don't have kids yet. Well, she clearly doesn't want them. Either she doesn't want them or can't have them. But we'll get into that because her chart actually speaks a lot to that. Not to mention every woman don't want kids. So, and also she's kind of menopausal at this moment in time. So I'm pretty sure. And I know there are a lot of celebrities who do things like freeze their eggs. And I suppose if there's a will, there's a way. But it also goes back to the point where it's like, it kind of seems like maybe she doesn't want kids. And if she doesn't want kids, then that's cool too. Miss Deja, how you doing? Mary, that's how you got to say it. That's how folks in the country say it. Mary. We love us some Mary. Bad luck with men, absolutely. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And I tell you, she had me walking around 8 years old hollering, "You said it's your child," and it really messed me up. How could you deny your own flesh and blood? Like 8 years old, like I knew what the fuck I was talking about. Gotta face reality. My mom was like, "Shut up, be quiet." You do not know what you're singing about. You can tell me I ain't know the pains and the struggles of somebody having a baby on me. What's y'all's favorite Mary J. Blige song? What is y'all's favorite Mary J. Blige song? Mary. Your favorite song is 7 Days? Yes, I like 7 Days. I like 7 Days too. 7 Days is a bop. You wanted to adopt children rather than give birth to them, and that's fine. A lot of children need to be adopted. Beautiful. What album did that come off of? What album was that? You like everything? Yeah, look, everything still makes me teary eyed. Like everything be making me like it be getting me in my feels a little bit. You are my everything. Love so good. Only you can bring. You are my everything. You are everything. And everything is you. Living Proof. I've never heard Living Proof. I Can Love You. I like I Can Love You. Every Day It Rains. I've never heard Every Day It Rains. What album is that off of? Only two songs. I like Just Fine. What? You gotta go back and you gotta go back, Rachel. That is not acceptable. Just Fine was a little bit like that was like 2007. You gotta go, you gotta take it back a little further. Mr. Wrong. I don't like I don't know. Once we start getting into like the I wanna be with you, gotta be with you, need to be with you. Too strong for too long. And I can't I just I that's where it missed me. Like that's why I was like, I don't really care for some of her later music. Although I will say, what is this album? Because I actually downloaded it this morning. Because like I said, shouts out, it made me like it gave me a newfound appreciation. The Breakthrough, that album, and that came out in 2005. I would say that's the last body of work Mary J. Blige had that I actually liked. Where I was like, oh my God, like from beginning to end. And that's because my mama bought the CD. I remember when it first came out, I must have been in like the ninth grade. And my mom went and bought it, and like every day, like she would play it out from beginning to end, like no nonstop. And it had that. So how did it go? Damn. Hold on, let me see. I don't want to play it because I know I'm gonna get deemed, and I don't have that type of time. How does it go? But it's a song that it's a feature. I can't do this alone. It's not all about you. Boy, I can't do this alone. That song. I love that song. And that's from The Breakthrough. The duet with Mary and Kels, I wasn't a fan of it. Hey, Truth Teller, Living Proof, the new song Glow Up from her, ain't it? I ain't never heard the Glow Up. I'm unfamiliar. So for me, Mary is kind of hit or miss. Like her older joints are undisputed classics in my opinion, but as we start ushering into the newer era, it gets a little choppy for me. I can either really like it or not. Okay, so make sure y'all hit that like button. We're gonna go ahead and get started on the reading. So as you can see here, Mary J. Blige was born January 11th, 1971. Her time of birth is unknown, so this is a placeholder that I've been using for a while, so we can take that with a grain of salt in terms of this time. But what we typically do is forego actually, analyzing her house placement. So the house placements you would definitely take with a grain of salt, as well as like the degrees in terms of like her more personal planets, because those could kind of shift depending on her time of birth as well. Specifically, more so the moon, mostly really the moon. But nonetheless, we can still deduce that she's a Capricorn Sun, Cancer Moon, right? She was born in New York. And so one of the major things that stood out to me initially was the fact that she's a birth number 11. And that number 11 is a very challenging number to have. whether you're born on the 11th, whether you have personal planets at the 11th degree, nodes at the 11th degree, because the number 11 signifies conflict and struggle. Really, like, these are people who can live hard lives. These are people who could, um, encounter lots of issues, especially when we start talking about within like their family dynamics. The number one in and of itself could even deal with like men. So although it may not always play out like this, but sometimes in the charts of women, or when we talk about women with 11 energy, these are women, who could have a lot of issues with men, or, where there could be issues with the father and things like that. So I thought that was interesting. So that kind of like set the tone, right? And on top of that, her being a Capricorn sun, she actually has her sun here at the 20th degree. And that, number two could deal with family as well. And, it just essentially points to where it explains a lot of Mary and who she is and how she's even received, because as a Capricorn, a lot of these people can be very cold, like in the documentary, if you guys go check that out, she placed a lot of emphasis on her coming up in like a very like poor environment, being from the projects, which is actually very Capricorn. Not all Capricorns, but many Capricorn individuals can come from impoverished situations, right? Capricorn deals with lack, where there's like a lack, where, some of these people have to really struggle and, get it out the mud. So as a result, they can be very fear driven people, or, people who are always afraid of like going back to where they were. And I actually have a Capricorn mother who was raised amongst like her six siblings, single parent household, and we're very, very poor. You see what I'm saying? So um from personal, even in my personal life, I've seen that kind of play out like that. And so these are people who as a result have to operate based on like kind of survival, from a very early age, and it could cause one to be very skeptical of others, or people who need to control things around them, even their environment, or, people who are always trying to make sure things are like a certain way, right? They could live a very hard knock life. And that's actually also reinforced considering that Mary does have her Mercury, and Mercury in Sagittarius squaring her Pluto at the 29th degree of Virgo. That could be growing up in a criminal environment, or a neighborhood where there was a lot of crime, right? Also, her being a Capricorn, and I even spoke to this before. Like I've always said this, it's the struggle vibes. It's the struggle, but it's the struggle vibes. Now, do we enjoy it? Absolutely. But, that just is what it is. And I know there's a lot of singers with very heavy Capricorn influence have that struggle shit going on. Her, Keisha Cole. Keisha Cole is I think she's a Libra sun, but she's a Capricorn South node. So you see how that works? And it's so funny that people draw so many comparisons and parallels between both Keisha Cole and Mary J. And it's like they both have this kind of reputation for being struggle, like depressing, and making music that's gritty. All of that is very Capricorn, gritty, grimy. Like I'm gonna pour all my pain into a song, and when they're going through it, we need them to go through it so we can get our music. K Michelle is another one. She's actually a Capricorn style node, so very much struggle. I even think about like, well, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not. That's why so many of her songs were like very just like always about overcoming some type of struggle, being sad, like, and she even talked about how like she had a really bad case of depression. That's very, very Capricorn. Capricorns can be very melancholic, very depressed, depression prone. And once again, it all ties back to having to face a lot of harsh realities, or, living a hard life. They could deal with her having to grow up fast or something like that. Many Capricorns could either be like, older siblings or something like that, or maybe they were in an environment where once again they have to kind of like get up and and grow up quick and hit the ground running and mature faster than everyone else. I see this in the charts of some Capricorn moons too, as well as like ascendants, Capricorn ascendants. I actually have a really good friend with Capricorn in the first house, and she resonates with Mary a lot. And I know I can see the similarities because that, to a certain degree, that was her experience too, in terms of having to grow up fast and things like that. So, or maturing quicker, and just being faced with a lot of harsh things at an early age. So it makes a lot of sense. I get it. It makes sense. Also, as a Capricorn, it was so funny. She was talking about in the documentary, like, I didn't smile. And it was like, Capricorns, because of them being very standoffish, or sometimes they can just be like bitches, especially in terms of women. A lot of these women can come out very bitchy, very mean, and like resting bitch face, and she even said, like, I never smiled. People never saw me smiling. And I just felt like that was a defense mechanism, which made a lot of sense because with her son in opposition to that Cancer moon, mind you, at the core of who she is, she could be very emotional, right? But that opposition between that Capricorn sun and Cancer moon denotes this kind of standoff, or this kind of need to protect oneself or to be guarded, where she was always on the defense. That's how you could look at that opposition, like circumstances and things in her environment, whether it be issues within the home. That sun in opposition to moon could absolutely deal with the mother and the father who didn't get along. It could also deal with her parents separating, which she also spoke about, where there was a lot of conflict in the house, in the home, right? Just maybe in life in general, things in her environment, right, the way that she was conditioned, that made her guarded and defensive, and where she felt like that Capricorn outer shell, had to be something that she needed in order to ward off, other people and predators and people with ill intent and whatnot. So yeah, they could be very skeptical of other people. It could also deal with her wanting to be alone. And I remember in the concert, there was like a concert that commemorated her 25th anniversary of the My Life album that's on the documentary. And she was saying, like, I'd rather be alone. Like, in so many words, like, I'd rather be alone than to be mistreated. And I thought that was a very Capricorn thing to say. However, the gag is, once again, with her sun in opposition to that Cancer moon, it's like there's one part of her that could actually feel like that, but these are people who are like constantly torn, and therein lies some of the issues that she's had, even in her like relationships, or balancing her work life and her personal life, where something is always off kilter, or where there's a part of her that could want to be alone, but there's also a part of her that wants that attachment, that wants that Cancerian, validation, and you know, that wants, you want a family and all that other stuff, right? So, there's that. Because even in that song, okay, and this is a song on the My Life album, that never wanna be without you, baby. I wanna be a lady. Your love is so amazing. Whatever, however that song went. I remember there was a lyric where she was like, I don't want to be alone, so let's make a happy home. That was very symbolic of that Capricorn Cancer kind of, you like, opposition, where it's like she knows that she might end up alone, but at the same time, she rather, have a family with somebody and try to make it work. A lot of her music like surrounded this kind of polarity. And so once again, it's just something that, like, when you kind of go back and look over it through this kind of lens, it makes a lot of things make sense. Also, as a Cap sun and having that sun in opposition to her moon, you could even look at that as her, once again, either coming across as a bitch, but being deeply emotional. And even throughout the documentary, you could tell that she's somebody who cries a lot. She cries a lot. Like, she's actually very, very emotional. But even with her moon, it's actually squaring Uranus, that Uranus in Libra, that could kind of, make it hard for her to really even understand her own emotions, right? Or she could be someone who could even be subject to like even emotional outbursts or losing her cool, or where it's just, she just has a hard time really managing that part of herself. So I thought that was interesting. Um, so also something else that it was very, impactful and significant in terms of understanding Mary and her career is this Leo South Node here. Okay. This Leo South Node, and somebody mentioned before we started the reading, oh, she has horrible luck with men. Therein lies the problem, right? Her South Node sitting there at the 27th degree of Leo. That number 25, or excuse me, 25. Did I say 27? I meant 25th. But the number 25 actually reduces to 7. So that number 7 deals with disappointment. It deals with, where like, um, you could just kind of like, even where something is to your undoing, right? Where you shoot yourself in the foot. So once again, her relationships with men being a place in her life where it's like love and validation is like her, Achilles heel. Also, a lot of this could be triggered by daddy issues, which she mentioned she had a lot of. A lot of Leo South Node women do have prominent issues with the father. And a lot of those issues were triggered by that sun in opposition to her Cancer moon, because her dad actually left the family. Okay. Her dad left the family when she was very young. So that kind of, triggered a lot of her issues in regards to, a dad and searching for a dad. I know in some of her, what was it, that album that I was just describing, the, what was it, the Breakthrough album. There's a song on there called Fathering You, and she's like, that's why I need a father in you. Like, she's literally describing how she's looking for a dad, like in the men that she's with. And I thought that was so interesting. Like, even as a Capricorn sun, like, a lot of Capricorn women could be, well, you got different types, but you do have the type of women who could be drawn towards like powerful men. And then with that Leo South Node in the mix, it's like, men who validate her and men who kind of fill that fatherly role. I just thought that was so crazy. Also, it deals with her having a lot of karmic debt with her romantic affairs and matters of the heart. Leo governs the heart. So love. And once again, this is literally what her entire career has been built upon. Like, singing about her pain. And even in the documentary where they were talking about the My Life album, the My Life album was solely single-handedly the product of her and her relationship woes with Casey from Casey and JoJo. Now, if you ask me, I think Carmen came back to bite him in the ass, because I mean, look at him and look at Mary. Look at how he look. Go up and look up Casey and JoJo right now, and look at like what's going on in life right now, because we ain't even finna get on that. But at this time, she was in an abusive relationship with him. And, it was just a lot. She was talking about how she had to dumb herself down, and it was just so much pain. And it was very Leo South Node, like singing about her pain, always undergoing some type of relationship turmoil and foil, and looking for this kind of validation, but never really being able to get it. Right? Where it can be very elusive. That number 25 can deal with where that sense of love and belonging is very elusive. Like, you want it. Even when you break down the numbers 2 and 5, the number 2 is governed by the moon. So it's like wanting that emotional attachment, but with the number 5 being ruled by Mercury, it's like it don't really go together, right? Mercury is very fast, right? It's Mercury is very like, here today, maybe gone tomorrow. I might be back here next week, and then I'm gone again, kind of thing. So, that was kind of interesting as well. And with her Capricorn sun, it in many instances drove her, or can drive her, to self-deprecating behaviors and even humiliation in order to obtain a lot of this validation. A lot of Capricorn individuals in general they can have a humiliation king. and whether it be like in terms of exploiting and humiliating others, or feeling themselves like they have to exploit themselves and humiliate themselves for their relationships, right? And so with her being a Leo South Node, Leo's governed by the sun, that Capricorn sun, it literally deals with her quest for this love, right? This love that she's always longed for. She's willing to go through some struggle, hence that Capricorn sun. She's willing to go through some bullshit and like some long suffering. Even when I think of the phrase long suffering, it brings me back to the Not Gonna Cry song when she was 11 years of sacrifice. Besides the kids, I got nothing to show. Granted, she wrote that for loving or waiting to exhale or whatever the case may be, but it's very Capricorn. Like, I done been with you for 11 years. I've been struggling. I've been sacrificing. Why you don't love me? I'm not gonna cry. This is so sad. Oh my God. Like, it's so like, and like, I love Mary, but I have to be, as a Capricorn North Node myself, like I gotta be in a certain frame of mind to like really get into some of her the music that triggers me like that, because that shit is actually really triggering. But that's why it was so therapeutic for her, because she was literally putting all her like pain in her heart, right? Once again, Leo. And I mean, Leo also deals with your creativity, your creative expression. So once again, drawing from real life experiences, her real life struggles with men, Capricorn sun, to produce and push out a lot of that creativity. So it worked for her. It worked for her. Leo is also like the sign that deals with like your claim to fame, what people know you for, and with her sun and Capricorn, once again, it's like, okay, we know her for being on that struggle shit, for keeping, or depending on how you want to look at it, keeping it real. If you look in my life, you see what I've seen. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, that was very, very interesting as well. Trying to see also that Leo South Node could deal with her musical career, fame, acting, even though she sucks at it. Like, all power to Mary, girl, you can't act this. But with that Leo South Node, it may be something that she really enjoys, and that's like it keeps her in her wheelhouse. But she got that Capricorn thing going on when she acts, so it's like she's always trying to overcompensate for it by trying. It's like she overacts, but it's not genuine, and that's very like Capricorn. Like, even when I was thinking about her on Power, like the Notebook, she's like, "Who is he? Kane, what are we doing? I'm over here. We gotta go." And I'm like, girl. It's not. Okay, fine. Like, I really don't understand how she got that role outside of her being Mary, but we gonna let Mary have it. Okay, we're gonna let her have it. Acting is not her tea. But she does a lot of it. I think she's received an award for it. Whatever. If somebody like it, more power to you. Now that Aquarius North Node deals with where in this lifetime she's supposed to detach herself from matters of the heart, focusing on her friendships, cultivating friendships, and even like take an approach where like, maybe she's going to have to, engage in friends with benefit style relationships, or relationships that may not like, where if she's always coming from a place of seeking love and happiness, and even when I think about all I really want is to be happy, right? She literally includes it in her music. That Leo South Node is all about trying to find happiness, but it's fleeting, and a lot of times they try to find it in romantic love, and it also could result in drama, which is so funny because she made the song "No More Drama." Like, you can't make this shit up, y'all. You can't make this shit up. But anyway, as an Aquarius North Node, she can mitigate a lot of that by making the decision to detach herself from that longing for emotional and romantic validation. Like I said, being somebody who focuses on just cultivating friendships and things like that. It could also deal with her, like maybe even turning her back on men for a little bit, with that Aquarius dealing with, potential LGBTQ activity. And it's also funny. I had heard What I had heard was word on the street was that Mary was out here snacking on snatch. Okay, that's what Jaguar Wright says. Now, granted, you could make the counter argument that oh, well, we don't really trust her credibility because Jaguar Wright has proven herself to be unstable. But a broken clock is right. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So, I mean, just from a sheer astrological standpoint, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Mary done snacked on some cooch before. And to kind of take that a step further, she does have her Jupiter there at the 29th degree of Scorpio, conjoined to her Mars, which can deal with it could deal with sexual dysfunction. Now, on one hand, you could look, especially with it squaring her nose and specifically that Aquarius North Node, you could look at that as like issues like incest and molestation, which she mentioned that she was a victim of molestation and sexual trauma, right? So, okay, there's that. And especially, she could have grown up a lot around a lot of pervy men, perverts, especially with her Mars squaring their North Node. But it could also deal with where, look, there was somebody who came forward. What was his name? What was his name? I can't remember his name. Boy George. Well, not Boy George, Lord. Danny Boy, who said that he was sleeping with Mary when he was a teenager too. But we ain't gonna get all up in that. But the point is, I can kind of see that. I can kind of see it just based off of this astrology. Okay, she could be on the receiving end, or she could be the giver. But it could also deal with where she, could have like some sexual, I guess you could say dysfunction or issues with her own sexual identity with that Jupiter at the 29th degree of Scorpio conjoined to Mars and squaring her North Node, where it's like, she could be someone where it's like maybe she does have urges, or maybe she does like snacking. Maybe, for all we know, maybe she really be out here just like crunching and munching, but we just don't know it. And that's just not something she wants to get out. Because you also got to keep in mind, Capricorn suns are really big on their reputation. Reputation. They can be even with it opposing her Cancer moon. Like there's a once again a balance where it's like I'm willing to exploit some part of myself for my career, but certain things I want to keep private. So, listen, it's not just completely like not feasible. I can see it. I can definitely see it. Also, her Jupiter at that 29th degree of Scorpio could deal with her having life-changing or life-altering experiences that bring her closer to God, near-death experiences. And she recounted how she had got really, really high out her mind and she thought she was going to die. And that's what she had like this grand awakening moment right where she was born again. That's very Jupiter at the 29th degree of Scorpio, where like they could be on a path of like pure self-destruction, especially conjoined to her Mars, and then she just had this moment where she just like was born again and she turned it around. It could also create a lot of high pressure scenarios, all or nothing situations, lots of emotional and family trauma and dysfunction. Once again, um, it could also deal with tight emotional bonds and her being naturally gravitated towards abusive men. She could have also been into like drug dealers or criminals when she was younger, bad boys, right? This also makes sense why she even agreed to do the notebook, the Power Notebook series. Just this whole concept of like criminality and possibly being into that, and with this squaring that Leo South Node, her kind of using her acting skills to kind of live that life and live that experience. Or maybe she, was very up close and personal with those type of experiences very early on in life as well. It could also deal with her having a husband who manages her, which we all know Isaac Kendak, whatever his name is, Isaac Kendu did, but where it could be very corrupt. And if I'm not mistaken, his Neptune is right on top of her Mars. So it's like, yeah, where he's like, you know, basically getting over on her. Put it like that. And Leo South Nodes can be kind of gullible, which is another reason why Like they can be gullible and naive. So that's another reason, like when you think about that Capricorn sun, why she still has to be very guarded, because she probably knows that about herself. That when she completely lets her guard down, like she can be kind of naive and gullible. Is there something else I wanted to discuss? I'm going to take a look at the comments, and then we'll get into a few more notes and a few other observations that I've made. Right. Yes, snacking on snacks. Shout out to Alexandra Rogers. Casey was a bad boy. Mary and him were on drugs back in the 90s. Jaguar Wright said she was bi. I believe it. The rumors about her being involved with minors. Well, I mean, not saying that makes it better, but I heard about that one, that one story, but weird vibes. Don't nobody, want to talk about it. So I'm just like, oh, okay, I guess we're not gonna talk about it, but shit, the astrology don't lie. The overacting, you get what I'm saying? She was okay on that Tyler Perry movie. Mary J. Music is good for being drunk off rum after a breakup. Right. You think she did good in Mudbound? What was that movie about? I forgot. You thought she did good on Power? 11 years. It only takes a few for most. Even a few is too much for me. But I mean, I get how stuff happens, and in general, like I can relate to, I think most people can relate to being in a situation longer than they probably would have wanted to, but it's like, damn. Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about, Fathering You. She has a song called Good Love. What album? I have no respect for men who physically and emotionally abuse women. Facts. Your brother does that and tries to make it seem as if he's joking, but he's dead ass serious. Do a lot of Capricorn women avoid having kids? They can, and that's another point that I wanted to make too. I'm glad you asked that question, Jordan, if you're still here, because once again, with that Leo South node, there's a lot of karma and karmic debt tied to children. So I've seen it play out in a few ways. So I've seen it play out in a lot of women, even in my, like, the clients that I take on, who want children really, 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 really badly, but with her having that Capricorn sun, it's like it could also play out in the opposite direction, where maybe she's somebody who does not want children. Maybe she's someone who's naturally very fearful of having children. You see what I'm saying? Or it could produce a mother, even if she, let's say she did have kids, hypothetically, she could actually have a difficult time, even despite that Cancer moon. Once again, balancing, finding that balance, because like between being a nurturer versus being a father. She actually has a lot of masculine energy naturally with that Leo South node. She might come across more as a father than like a mother, or where she may struggle to kind of find that delicate balance. You know what I mean? And where, I just keeping it real, she's gonna get a lot of karma tied to her children. So maybe she could have kids, and the relationship with her kids, or could cause a lot of pain, and stuff like that. Or where she could be estranged from her children at some point, especially with her son in opposition to that Cancer moon. So, or maybe where she may feel disconnected from the kid. Like, it's a lot of different ways that can kind of play out. So, she may not have, it may be the best, it may be for the best. Well, a lot of Leo South Node women could either, once again, want kids and not really be able to have them, even if it's due to issues with like the womb issues, with carrying children to term, which could also be very plausible with that afflicted Cancer moon of hers, right? With it opposing her Capricorn sun, that could play a role. So it could be a couple of different things, but you know, that does have something to do, just from an astrological standpoint, with why she don't have kids. Yes, hit the like button, y'all. Yep. Fertility issues. Exactly. Yep. Cheated on Casey. I'm pretty sure they probably cheated on each other, and which brings me to the second half of the reading. So she also has her Venus here at the third degree of Sagittarius, conjoined to her Jupiter at the 29th degree of Scorpio, which could absolutely deal with, you know, infidelity. And I mean, it could really go both ways. But Venus Sagittarius individuals in general have a difficult time attracting partners who are going to be fully available for the long, like in the long run, for the long haul. Even when we talk about her Mars conjoined to Jupiter at that 29th degree as well, that's also very a relationship or an aspect that could create infidelity within the relationship. Um, and then her Venus is conjoined to Neptune. That's secret hookups all day. Where her dudes could be creeping on her, but where she could be creeping too. It could also deal with where, drugs and alcohol played a role in what, bound her and a lot of her friends and a lot of her lovers together, which everybody know. Her and old Casey was around there, on that shit, smoking that dope. It also deals with where Venus can join Neptune. It can deal with where you place, especially in Sagittarius specifically, where you place all of your hopes and dreams in a romantic partner, where she spent so much time like idealizing her partners, where she had no boundaries whatsoever, and where eventually she just ended up having her bubble pop, right? Where once again the disappointment, the letdown, can be so great. It could also deal with where she naturally attracts men who could just lack, once again, the commitment, flaky. They could be liars. They could be men who leech off of her. Can do. Okay. Men who could be alcoholics and drunks as well, or men who could, be addicts. It could also point towards her abandonment issues too. And it makes me think about that song, don't leave me, leave me, leave me. Don't go, don't go. Don't leave me, leave me, leave me. I love you so. Like she was dead ass begging. Like this shit is in her music. That's the abandonment trauma all day long. Abandonment trauma. Also, that Venus at the third degree of Sag. It just especially in conjunction to Neptune, excuse me, deals with her being very religious, which is something else I picked up on her. Even when you think about how she puts on her performances, it gives you church. It's giving like we're going to church, which is not really my style, but people like it. People will show up to a Mary concert, and the concert don't sound nothing like the audio because she's always switching it up and no more. I say yeah, I say yeah. Can I get a girl out there, yo? Can I get a girl out there, yo? Can I get a girl? Yeah. I'll be like, girl. It's not for me. It's not. I'd rather go listen to her shit in studio. Like, I will stream your shit, girl. You would not catch me in no damn Mary J concert because it throw me off too much. Like that's not how I remembered that. Like, but people like it, and that's very like Venus conjoined Neptune and Sagittarius. It could also deal with her having issues with like her weight. At some point, I remember a while ago, I was watching an infomercial. It was one of those infomercials when you like stay up later than you supposed to, or maybe you go to sleep early and then you wake up in the middle of the night. And I can't remember if it was Weight Watchers or something, but Mary was on there and was like, I had gained so much weight, and it showed like her before and after. She was never fat at all, but it was like a picture of her. I guess she was getting bigger while she was on tour, which is also very Venus conjoined to Neptune, like traveling, going around the world to make your money, touring, singing, right? And she was like, I gained a lot of weight, even with her Venus at the third degree. That's like a number that can make you fat, and Venus and Sagittarius can be very excessive and gluttonous. And she was like, I just realized I just had to, I was drinking every night. I was doing this. I was eating all the time. I was eating bad food. Excuse me. So I had to, learn how to exercise more and do this and that. which is her once again tapping into that Capricorn energy. Um, you know, in kind of enacting that sense of self-discipline, right? So, there's that. So yeah. Then really quick, in terms of some of her asteroids, she has uh her Psyche. That's the one I really wanted to talk about. Psyche. Psyche is an asteroid that deals with like the wounds that we sustain. It's like Chiron on crack. It's like Chiron times 20 because it's wounds that we have, but they're wounds that never really heal. Like things that could really impact you at such a deep ass fucking psychological level, hence the name Psyche, that it never really heals. And depending on how it's aspected or how you even handle it or what's going on, it can really like destroy your life. You know what I'm saying? If you're not if you're walking around always trying to overcompensate from it. And so her Psyche is actually contraparallel to that Venus and Sagittarius. And it ties back to this theme of having her hopes and expectations crushed and never really fully being able to recover from that. And a lot of that is done in her relationships, right? Where once again, she puts somebody on a pedestal or where she feels like things are supposed to be a certain way. And then when she finally lets them in and, the rug is snatched out from underneath her. And she even kind of hinted to this in the documentary as well by saying stuff like, well, yeah, when Andre Harrell came and when this would happen, they offered me this deal, but I didn't even get happy because we from the hood and we used to having the rug snatched out from underneath us. And like that speaks to a lot of that psyche trauma where like a lot of her life and some of her most devastating moments in life have been the result of being let down by other people or placing all of her hopes and dreams in other people and that shit coming back to bite her in the ass. So, and I don't know why my screen is no longer sharing, but we're going to go ahead and close that out. And then I'm going to go ahead and revisit the comment section. And then we're going to close this live out because I didn't want this to be too long. I'll keep this one up. So if you haven't been able to, for the people who weren't able to catch this live, you can always watch this on the playback. But yeah. So what do y'all think about her chart? On Niecy Nash? Okay. Exercise it is a huge stress reliever. That's good. Yeah, Kenya Moore is a perfect example of that Leo South Node energy. Facts. Oh, okay. The mark on her face. Glad you brought that up. So, Mary has her Uranus at what is this? Her Uranus is at the 13th degree of Libra and it's forming an opposition to her Chiron at the 6th degree of Aries. That could literally deal with a person sustaining a wound to their face, a cut. Like, so clearly it's a cut, burn, bruise. Like it's giving me cut vibes, which is very Chiron in Aries. Chiron deals with wounds that, can be inflicted upon us, but they don't necessarily just have to be emotional wounds. They could literally be like physical wounds. Like, so these are people who could be susceptible to head injuries and, once again, being cut, burned, bruised, stabbed, shot. Of course, this is not to say every single person with Chiron and Aries necessarily has to be shot or stabbed. Some of these people can have brain issues or, it just really depends. Epilepsy, I've seen it manifest in that in some people, but in Mary's case, this absolutely points towards that scar on her face. And with this opposition between her Uranus and Venus, it could point to where like she's somebody who had to fight a lot. Like it really could have been an op. Like it could have been a situation where she got it from a peer that she was fighting, or like she got into a fight and a girl slashed her face. Because I heard that people used to do that a lot, especially in New York. Like bitches will walk around with blades like under their tongue and stuff. Even when I think about Remy Ma, y'all know my girl Remy, like Remy Ma, like Remy got a scar on her face, and that's what she said happened to her. So it's giving very like gutter New York girl vibes. I mean, it could have also happened in terms of like it could have been inflicted by a man or something like that too. But I'm getting more so like she was engaged in a physical altercation. You know what I'm saying? That opposition could also deal with her having a fight, like in court and stuff like that. That whole situation that happened with Kendu, especially with her Uranus also squaring her moon too, having to go to family court and all that other bullshit. So yeah, there's that. Oh, Ear Hustle said I was born with Chiron and Aries, and I had brain surgery as a child. Interesting. See, there you go. Star brim slashes faces. Star brim slash faces. Oh, yep. See, there are a lot of different things that explain her marriage problems, but Juno being conjoined to Saturn and Taurus, I mean, can be one of them. I mean, it could deal with where her self esteem is shot, where a lot of her relationships erode and her self esteem. Mary looked like she got hands too. I mean, she got that Mars conjoined to her Jupiter at that 29th degree, even though it's in Scorpio. I mean, it can deal with a person who like their anger builds and builds and builds and builds, and they take stuff and take stuff and take stuff until they fly off the handle. Then they liable to beat your motherfucking ass. So I believe it. She probably do got hands. Party MX Industry. I did it in the at the very end of my live last night, but I'm gonna make an actual upload. Like it's not gonna be a live stream. I'm gonna make an upload for it because I wanted to go into a lot more detail. So, and I took last night's live down just because it wasn't that important. Psyche and Scorpio, that could be deeply traumatizing wounds that could surround, you know, being abused, especially if we're talking about like sexual abuse, manipulation. Blades under the tongue, child. I was like, oh, y'all a little bit too off in the too much in the trenches for me. Too deep off in the gutter for me. That's why you gotta at this point, you gotta keep that fire on you. Like bitches be bragging about fighting. Like, bitch, we is too grown to be fighting. Okay. Your ass is finna fuck around and get shot. Ain't nobody got time for that. That's why it is so dangerous. Like you gotta be really careful when you're dealing with people. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up on that note. I got a lot of stuff to do today. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about Mary. So thank y'all for joining me. Okay, I'm gonna leave this live up if you want to go back and watch it, and for those who didn't attend to watch it on the back play. And I hope you guys have an excellent week. I'll holler at y'all soon.